Boy, I hate rushed reviews. Altogether, that's about a little over an hour's worth of review just for Landcross alone, if you combine all the different reviews for all the Multiforce members. Really, I still don't feel it was enough time to really truly go over all the nice details and things of this figure. I'm not going to disassemble it now since I've already got it all together, but to give you kind of a rough idea, here's the 360. Very solid. Doesn't have really much in the way of kibble. It's pretty self-contained. Everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. It all holds together very nicely. I guess you can kind of consider this a supplemental review. Now on the instructions, they have the arms up like this, which truthfully makes the arms a lot shorter and I think looks stupid. Having them down a little more like this, you know, so he has a little smaller upper arm. Who cares? I think it makes him look a little better, gives him more articulation in the arms, which is always a plus for a G1 figure. And he actually does have very decent articulation, probably the best out of any of the early combiners. Doesn't have the ability to rotate his head. Not really many of the combiners did have that ability. Only one I can think of right offhand would be like Abominus, and maybe Bruticus. But anyway, he doesn't have any knee joints to speak of necessarily, but he does have decent hip articulation. If you want to make him taller, you can kind of do this thing, just like you would with Defensor or Menasor. He has that type of hip joint. Up, down, out, to the side, in a little bit. You can cross his legs. Not bad. Not bad. Arms, you have the elbow joint as well as the shoulder joint, which aren't very far apart from one another, but you know, for what this is, that's not really all that bad. Solid figure, good alternate modes, lots of weapons. If you like your firepower, Landcross has got you covered. I'm trying to keep him in the frame here. He's a little too tall for the camera. Really, I would give this combiner, the set as a whole, I'd say a 9 out of 10. He's not the most complex I've ever seen, but in terms of Generation 1, he's probably the best combiner I've seen yet. And I haven't even seen all the combiners in person yet. I've seen pictures, but you know, those don't really do a Transformer justice. You know, to get a full feel for a Transformer, you have to hold it in your hand. You have to change it and, you know, move the parts. And that's the whole point. You can't just look at it and expect it to, you know, really give you all it has to offer. That's half the fun. And really, I think in terms of any Generation 1 toy, this is probably an example of what Generation 1 was capable of. I wish there was more figures that were like this. Not so much the whole rectangle thing, but in terms of the diversity of all the alternate modes and different combinations. They really had a good idea here, and I appreciate what they did in Energon in homaging that connectivity and that diversity. You know, because it allowed for a lot of play value. This figure has so much play value, it's not funny. I mean, you've got a giant robot, you've got a team, you know, a whole squadron of, you know, different vehicles. You've got air vehicles, you've got land vehicles, you've even got a sea vehicle. You know, all kinds of odds and ends possibilities here with this guy. Very, very good. I wish we would have gotten this figure in the States. They could have done it as a Generation 2. I wouldn't have cared. If anything, the long neon green water squirting missiles that were 8 inches long for safety reasons probably would have only added to the fun This is a very, very good figure, and I do highly recommend it. In closing, I'd just like to say that this is probably the best review of Landcross that I've tried to make it. I've seen other reviews of the different Multiforce members. Some of them I've seen. They have some of the regular release and some of the chase version, which is a black repaint. But I haven't seen a review that's completely all regular and not in any great detail. I've seen it like a 3-part review where they rush and do robot modes and then vehicle modes and then the combined mode. But I felt it deserved a little more attention. The individual components, different modes, the weapons. Because there's a lot to this figure, and I felt that it takes just a lot of time to kind of cram it all in there. There's so much more I could go into about this guy, but I won't in the interest of time, because frankly, an hour for a toy review is quite a large chunk of time. But it's time well spent, and I hope to do many more reviews. My next few are probably going to end up being reviews for more Power Rangers, as you've already seen my reviews for these guys with their flappy bird stands and the wobbly swords that don't break and stuff like that. But yeah, get this figure. That's all there is to it. If you find it and it's reasonably priced, I would not pay over $60 for the reissue, honestly. Big Bad Toy Store had the individual guys for like $3 and $4 each, unopened. When I picked up Mock and Tackle there, Mock and Tackle, and I thought that was an excellent price for each figure, because they're not really all that large, they're not that complex, so $3 and $4 was a fair asking price, I thought. Given the fact that they're not very old either, they're just a recent reissue in the past 4 or 5 years. I would say a fair price would be about $40 for the whole set, $60 maximum, and that would have to include a little bit of shipping too. Now, if you're a G1 purist, you'll want to pick up the vintage version. There are subtle differences, more stickers, differences in paint application. Same mold though; it's not been remolded. But then you're going to be biting the bullet there, paying upwards of $300 or more, as I've seen it go up pretty high. A lot of the Victory figures tend to go up that high. And one way, I neglected to mention this earlier, one way to tell it's from Victory is the big gold V on the chest. Almost every Victory figure has that, so far as I've seen, in one form or another. I don't know what it was about it, but I guess they like their whole V for Victory in that series. But more to the point, just if you find this figure and you have the spare cash and you want just a fun Transformer set, pick up the Multiforce, pick up Landcross. You'll thank me later. It's a great addition to any collection. It's great for troop building, and it's just a fun, nice display piece. Very sturdy, very articulate for its day, and just very, very good. I could keep rambling on for hours and hours about how much I love this figure, but I'm sure you have much more important things to be doing with your time, like, well, playing with Transformers. So I'll leave you now, and we'll see you next time on one of my many other toy reviews. This has been Moroni Prime. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me and my endless ramblings, and we will see you later. Bye, all.